Conversations of a Sister here from my phone. I don't know what happened. It's as if my cell phone is connected to my laptop. So it asks me for permission when it is time for me to go live. So I'm gonna have to see what's up with that because it kind of went kooky. So I had to come from another angle in order to go live. It's like on my other feed, you can hear me, but you can't see me. So I think I better end that stream and because I'm on this stream. So I don't know if they're connected, but I'm just gonna end it because okay, I'm back. I don't know what's happening, but nevertheless, I thank you for those who may be tuning in tonight to Conversations of a Sister here in the tri-state area where it is hot. But then again, it's hot across the country. Tonight, I wanted to talk about this email that I had received from one of my listeners. And this week's communication came from her, and she stated that her longtime boyfriend wants to get married. Her reservation about this possibility is that he has some health issues and some health challenges. And she also said that he is somewhat overweight. So I don't know. Is overweight a deal breaker? I guess it depends on what you're used to. Maybe it can be. But, she said that the idea of for better or for worse with him has her second guessing a lifetime of commitment. She says she loves him, but she's also comfortable with her freedom for not being responsible for someone else. That's what she said to me. Now, of course, because I'm single, I understand what she means. I mean, there's nothing like having or being in the company of a man and then having that man go home, especially if that's what you're used to. Now, don't get me wrong. Some people like the company that they keep, but when you're used to, certain time and certain space, you kind of welcome when that person goes home. So when she think about for better or for worse, she thinks about this lifetime commitment. So my only question to her at the time was, how long have you been together with this man that wants to marry you? And she said that they've been together for 10 years. So apparently her man is ready. But this, for better or for worse, she said, is hunting her. She's haunted by her. She's haunted by it. She's haunted by, for better or for worse. For those of you who are just tuning into the podcast live, I'm talking about a listener that sent me an email talking about how she's haunted with just the thought of for better or for worse because her boyfriend of 10 years, her partner, her companion, her friend, he wants to get married. So she's haunted by for better or for worse because he has some health issues. And she's like, am I giving up my life just to be married for what might be? So her question to me was, how is for better or for worse fully a reality as the next step in their relationship? But this being the next step in her relationship, she said it has her reserved. So she asked me, where did this for better or for worse come from? She said, where did for better or for worse come from? And I thought about it, and it was really making me pause. So hi for those of you saying hi, hello for those of you who are joining late. Tonight's conversation is for better or for worse, for better or for worse. So she asked me, where did this for better or for worse come from? First off, you cannot predict the future. You cannot predict what happens to you and your partner, your boyfriend, or your soon to be fiance. You can't predict what happens to you, period. If you walked out the house tomorrow, you can't predict what the future might bring. But vowing for better or for worse, it basically acknowledges that life will and does include both positive and negative outcomes. Both positive and negative outcomes. Better may represent times of happiness, financial stability, or shared achievements, while worse may include illness, financial instability, financial hardship, or just relationship struggles. You can't predict what happens in a relationship. For better or for worse signifies a lifelong commitment to remain devoted to your spouse, to remain devoted to that person, the person you marry. And this is in both joyful and in challenging times. You can't pick and choose when you want that person, in your marriage or in your relationship. Because once you get married, that's it, they're there. And, don't get me wrong, everybody have their days. There are some days wherein you feel like you're in love, and then there's some days wherein you're not. There's some days when you feel like you love the person, and then there's some days wherein you may feel like not. Because everybody is human and people get on your nerves. However, for better or for worse is kind of like engraved. So where did for better or for worse come from? The phrase for better or for worse originates from the Book of Common Prayer. It was first published in 1549, and it has been used in Christian wedding ceremonies. And it's a part of a traditional vow. You know those vows. I wouldn't know them because I haven't taken them. But it's having to hold from this day forward, for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health, to love and to cherish till death do us part. So I think that's the part that scares her, because she feels like no matter what, it is this lifetime commitment that she is taking a vow to. And actually, it is. And that has played tricks on a lot of people. I mean, think about it. I think that people who are like my reader or my listener who's thinking about that, it's like she has some anxiety about it. First of all, we've all seen the movie What's Love Got to Do with It? We've seen that, right? You can raise your hand. And Tina Turner remained in an abusive marriage because she was dealing with abandonment. She had been abandoned. So because she had been abandoned, she knew what that was like. So because she knew what that was like, she stayed in an abusive relationship. And some people do that. They will stay in an abusive relationship because of abandonment. Some people don't care about what their partner or their boyfriend or their spouse, they don't care what ailments that they may have, because some people just want to have somebody there. Some people just want to be in a relationship. But she said that to think about for better or for worse scares her. And it's because she doesn't know what's down the road for them. He has some health challenges. He's a little bit overweight. And I can't understand why that can't be a part of the conversation. And not so much that he should lose weight, but how you can go about changing, his eating habits, how that can change so that he's better and he could think more healthy. There are so many ways to think about things when you are in a relationship. You just don't throw the baby out with the bath water. If he's worth being in a relationship with for 10 years, he's at least worth having a conversation about your anxiety, about for better and for worse. Some people, I don't know, people period. I guess even people who are in relationships, they don't like confrontation. They're like they avoid certain conversations. So they call them avoidance. You avoid certain conversations. That's wrong. You have to have uncomfortable conversations. You have to deal with your uncomfortableness in a relationship. Even if you have to wait a day or two, but you go back in certain conversations that you have if you feel as though the relationship is worth it. I have a girlfriend who she had an ex-boyfriend. He came back and he asked her to marry her, and he mentioned a prenup, and it pissed her off. She was so pissed off because she felt like, he has some nerve. We've known each other for so long, and I can't believe that he's asking me for a prenup, because he had been previously married and divorced, and his wife, I don't know, I guess she took him to the cleaners. But at the end of the day, she felt like he had a lot of nerve asking her to sign a prenup. So I said to her, why don't you have a discussion? Why don't you talk about what it is that's bothering you? Especially if it's bothering you and you love him. But she wasn't willing to have the conversation. So therefore, she threw the baby out with the bathwater. So when we talk about this vow, when we talk about vows, when you talk about marriage, and when you're about to enter a lifelong commitment, there are certain conversations that you have to have. As a matter of fact, there are all conversations that you have to have. And after being with someone for 10 years, I would say that she knows him pretty well. So, for better or for worse, the vow emphasizes free will. Yes, it does. But it also highlights that marriage is a voluntary commitment. It's not a predestined arrangement. And when I think about that, I think about my book, Conversations of a Sister, the truth and the myth about praying for me. I have reservations about that now, because I really do believe that God has nothing to do with it. I think that he gives us free will. And it's the same with marriage vows. The vow emphasizes free will. It highlights that marriage is voluntarily. The vows reflect the principle of commitment. That's what the vows reflect. The principle of commitment. Are you ready for this type of long-term commitment? For better or for worse, is a promise to remain faithful, supportive, and loving, regardless of the circumstances. That's so hard to say, because I know couples that has been challenged in their relationships. I remember one time, my cousin, she showed up somewhere. I don't know. She was driving with her husband, and we were waiting for her. And I think it was like a 5-hour drive, and it took them 10 hours. And someone said to my cousin, what took you so long? And she was like, oh, we had to stop every hour so that her husband could stretch because he had back problems. And I looked at her like, what? She said, oh, yeah, he has back problems, so we can't drive we can't drive straight. We have to keep stopping so that he could stretch. And in my mind, I thought, I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Really? But she said they had to stop because, he had back problems and he had to stretch. Wow. That right there, that's sacrifice. That's definitely sacrificing for your partner, because that's what marriage is about. Marriage is about sacrifice and being supportive and loving regardless of the circumstances. You foster resilience, and I guess you also deepen your marital bond. I think that when you love someone, there are certain things that you'll put up with, and then there's certain things that are just deal breakers. But when you embrace the vow, or for better or for worse, you're affirming that you're ready to enter a lifelong partnership built on love, faith, and perseverance. And that's through all circumstances, because you never know what life's going to bring in a marriage. You never know what it's going to bring in a relationship. I know my girlfriend's sister got married. She married a younger man, and they were married for 18 years. They were inseparable. They were best friends, and he had gotten ill. And when you're on social media, you follow people, but you're not. I don't. I'm not really into, the day-to-day things of what happens daily. You check in on people. I know I do, and that's it. And I know that he had gotten sick. And I specifically remember they were back and forth to the hospital, in and out of doctor's appointments. And, I remember thinking, I was like, wow, that has to be stressful. But she stuck by him. She stuck with him. And, The next thing I knew, he was getting they were asking for donations for a heart transplant, but this was a journey that she was on with him because she loved him. She really stuck with the for better or for worse, and they had just bought a nice house, in the South, and they were just doing all the things that they loved. They were best friends, and you could tell that they were best friends because of the way they lived out their life on social media. They shared the good, the bad, and the. I'm so sorry. I guess that's the point of being live. Things happen. And he yesterday, I think it was yesterday morning, I think, or this I don't know. I went onto social media and I was perusing the pages and I found out that he passed away. And I was like so heartbroken. I was like, oh my God. I can't imagine, how she felt. But she went through the for better or for worse. She stuck with him because that's what marriage is about. That's what embracing the vow is about. It's a powerful commitment and it captures the essence of marital unity. But now she's like, she lost her husband, her partner, but she stood by him because for better or for worse, it's a promise to stand together through the spectrum of life's ups and downs. And they went through life's ups and downs. They went through the for better or for worse. You cannot predict what can happen in a relationship. I was in love with this guy. I could have married him. He became my ex and he wound up in a wheelchair. And every day that I talked to him, I could tell that he regretted it. That he regretted that, that he didn't marry me or that we didn't get married. But that was a regret that he had to live with. I didn't regret it. I did my part. He didn't do his. So I don't know if he regretted it because he wound up handicapped and in a wheelchair, or if he regretted it because he felt like it was time wasted. I don't know. Every time he talked about it, I never explored the possibilities of why he regretted it. I didn't, but it was something that he regretted. I think that when you have an opportunity to be with someone that you love, if you love them for the rest of your life, you're not going to think about what might be or what could be. You're just going to jump in feet first. You're just going to jump in. You're not going to have anxiety about it. And you shouldn't have anxiety about for better or for worse. Have counseling. Go to counseling. Don't be afraid to address your fears of this commitment, because you don't marry a person at their best. You don't marry them at their best, because when you marry them, hopefully you know everything about them. You embrace that person during the times of struggle and hardship, because the reality is any marriage is going to experience trials and tribulations. They just are. But I think that when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. And when you love someone, you are going to adjust and adapt to whatever challenges life may bring. So that email communication really had me thinking, because I think about people who are married and their spouses have physical challenges and how they have to adjust to that lifestyle based on that. And people always say, that people who are married envy people who are single. I don't know if that's true. I just know that you need to make the best of what it is that you have. And if you love someone and that person loves you and it's mutual and they want to take it to the next level, because a man has to be ready. And it sounds like he's ready because he wants to get married. And her reservation is she can't predict the future. No one can. No one can predict the future, you have to take those vows in faith. You have to take them in commitment. You have to take them knowing that you're ready to face whatever challenges that may come. So the phrase, for better or for worse, should compel both partners to dig deep into their emotions, dig deep into, what their turbulent times may look like. Because if you've been with him for 10 years, I'm sure that you've already been through it, for better or for worse. You've had to. You've had to have a sneak preview of what, for better or for worse, might be. But I don't think it's fair to have reservations based upon the fact that you don't know what's going to happen in the future. I think you have to maintain solidarity, and you have to take that into your marriage because everything at some point or another may seem to be falling apart, but it is those vows and that commitment that is going to keep you true to each other. And when you think about for better or for worse, you have to think about for better or for worse, in rich and in poor. You have to think about those things. And when you think about those things, you have to think about what's important. What's important. I remember when I was talking to a friend of mine about this week's topic, because I had been thinking about it because I was shocked. When I read the email, I thought about Whitney Houston's song, "Your Love Is My Love." And she said something about, if I wake up and I think it was Grand Central Station, I'm okay as long as I'm with you. If I'm homeless and sleeping on a bench, I think she said, I'm okay as long as I'm sleeping with you. So I think that you have to be willing to have that type of commitment before getting into that type of commitment. And if you are reserved about it, I think that you should maybe seek counsel and deal with these reservations that you may have, because your man, your boyfriend, is ready to become your fiance. And maybe he's just ready to jump from boyfriend to your husband. Maybe he's determined to just get right into the marriage because he's certain and he's sure. So I hope that you get, or you have, that assurance as well. And I think that when you are in a relationship with someone, you should be so close. The intimacy should be so igniting that this is a conversation that you can have. So have the conversation with them. Express your fears. Express your thoughts. Express your concerns. But address it together. So I thank you for sending me the email. I thank you for, entrusting my opinion about it. She said that she knows that I'm going to be impartial because I'm not there yet. And she's right. I was impartial. But it also gave pause to a lot of thoughts for me, because I know how I would feel if I felt like, something was going to be challenging in my relationship. So I get it. So for that, I thank you for trusting me.